Hello. I have been on a path of building spree with this build for the upcoming new league. This is again the Summon Stone Golem Elementalist, and I have been doing everything humanly possible to min-max this build to the absolute, limits. Everything here is theoretically possible, but it would really take the whole league probably to actually pull this off. So I was able to get some insane numbers here. I put up a video, I think, a couple days ago, and since that video, I've managed to eke out just a bit more damage and a bit more effectiveness of the golems and out of the tree in general. I think in my video, I don't remember how much combined DPS I had, but I'm now for a Summon Stone Golem slam, single slam. I am at 4.6 million damage, and that's for a single Summon Stone Golem. And I'll be running now 7 Stone Golems in total. So I'll just talk briefly. I guess I'll go through everything again because I changed up some things. So first of all, and I'll make this pretty in-depth, 2 cold iron points. Again, that's to scale the golems and to scale several physical spell skills. There's no real corruptions that benefit this build from daggers, so these can remain uncorrupted because they just really they don't do anything. So that can stay the same. Yeah. Again, a bone helmet would probably be the best bet here, with nearby enemies take increased fizz damage. Plus 3 minions wouldn't hurt, and then a crap load of life and resists would be optimal. Obviously, this is a mirror tier helm here, as I mentioned in the previous video. One thing I will say that I switched is I'm now going to be using Flesh Offering instead of Spirit Offering. So what I've done is now I'm just going to stack more of the... I'm using Flesh Offering to stack more of the attack speed. Spirit Offering isn't bad per se, but Flesh Offering is just stronger. I figured that out. And what I've also done with that in addition is I've decided to drop Grave Intentions. Since now I didn't have the extra chaos from the Spirit Offering, since I'm using Flesh Offering now. Grave Intentions, just the Unholy Might from Grave Intentions just felt a little less worth it. So I figured I would drop the Thread of Hope that I had here for Grave Intentions and instead just put in a normal Primordial Harmony and instead allocate the Ravenous Horde instead of the allocated Grave Intentions. So before I had the Thread of Hope here to be able to allocate Ravenous Horde, and I had the Grave Intentions anointed, so now I basically kind of swapped that around, anointed Ravenous Horde, and now I'm not running Grave Intentions anymore. What this now allows me to do is I can now run Awakened Brutality with Summon Stone Golem, and this now essentially turns the build into a pure Fizz build with really nothing else. I mean, there's Bleed and there's Impale, but that's kind of going along with Fizz. But no chaos, no physical damage, or sorry, no chaos, no elemental damage. So Awakened Brutality is definitely the best bet now for the most damage. So I made that switch. So now we're using Flesh Offering for the attack speed. Brass Dome, again, I still left this. Technically, there's better offensive chests to use. So like it was the Skin of the Loyal chest. I guess technically something like that could give more damage, as it gives more level to the sockets of the gems, socket of gems. Excuse me. But I think ultimately Brass Dome is just better because it provides so much more survivability. And again, our life pool isn't like anything to really brag about, so I think Brass Dome is really pretty nice here. Nothing really changed with any of the gloves or boots. It's just plain old rare. I definitely did consider grip of the council, but now that I have the Awakened Brutality, these are out. So I'm just going to continue using the Demon Mitts. So back before, when I wasn't using Awakened Brutality, I kind of considered these, but we're sticking to the rare gloves now, obviously. Two-tone boots, yeah, nothing really special about these. So this is also where it gets kind of interesting. So the best case scenario would be to get a Primordial Chain that allocates Ravenous Horde and +1 curse. And I will go back to why +1 curse is what's really necessary, would be the best in just a moment here. But this would be the best. I mean, obviously, like a double corrupt also with +1 max res, but that would be better. But this build is already kind of, rainbows and unicorns. So I think in this case, I might as well put +1 max res. Not like I'll ever get that. But I think getting an additional curse is actually kind of half realistic in terms of a whole league. Because I could just buy up a bunch of these amulets. They're like probably on softcore. They're going to run for like 5 chaos each. Heck, if I could buy up like 30 of these at a time, anoint all of them with Ravenous Horde, maybe at some point I'll hit +1 curse. So now this ring kind of shows why I added the +1 curse to the Primordial Chain. And that's because to get the most out of the Stone Golems, we need to have curse enemies with level 12 Poacher's Mark on hit on a ring. This basically opens up frenzy charges. That's one thing from the previous video that I had was really missing, was I didn't have any frenzy charge generation. And pretty much for frenzy charge generation for minions, you only have a few options. You either use the Victario's Charity Shield, and I definitely didn't want to use that because, first of all, I have a Brass Dome, so the block chance wouldn't do anything, really. I mean, it'd be great. The effectiveness of the block chance would be reduced, and I'd lose +3 to a lot of stuff. So I definitely didn't want to go the Victoria's Charity route. The next, one option, but not possible for this build, was to use the Spectres and have the monkeys do their frenzy charge generation, but as I'm running Primordial Chain, I cannot use Spectres. So that's out. So really the only other, there was actually another option, which was using the new Skitterbot ring to have one of the Skitterbots inflict the Poacher's Mark. However, it just felt not worth dropping a rare ring for that Skitterbot ring, because that Skitterbot ring really didn't have any life and didn't have many defenses, so didn't really want to run that. So the only option I really had left was to throw in an Elder affix of curse enemies with Poacher's Mark on hit and add in +1 curse on my Primordial Chain. That opens up frenzy charges, which in theory, as I'm mapping, adds a absolutely insane amount of damage. So frenzy charges are just crazy. So, I mean, obviously this won't work for bosses because I won't have any way to get that unless I maybe run like a Val Breach or something, but I don't really plan to do that. So, yeah, that's really this right here, getting the +1 curse and a nice curse Poacher's Mark on hit Elder Ring is really, really like late game stuff. So I don't know if I'll ever get this in this upcoming league, but this is theoretically probably one of the best options. This ring's kind of the same, nothing really too different. Belt's the same, flasks are all the same as they are. So one thing that's different with the sockets is now I am running my first Primordial Harmony actually within the base tree in addition to the 12 primordial harmonies that I'll have in the Voices unique jewel. So this build will in total have 13 primordial harmonies, 2 primordial eminences, primordial might, and anima stone. So that's pretty crazy. In terms of, and I think that's pretty much it for the items, so everything else is kind of the same. In terms of the skills, so again, the Summon Stone Golem is now using Awakened Brutality instead of Maim. I've actually offloaded the Maim to another area, and I'll show that just in a second here. I moved Valmoten Shell into my weapon slot. Now, this is where it gets kind of interesting. I really had no choice but to throw in an Enlighten with Summon, just with Summon Skitterbots, and then also running Summon Chaos and Summon Lightning Golem. I did the math, and I looked through PoB. The best damage ratio in terms of Stone Golems versus other Golems was running 7 Stone Golems and 2 other Golems. At 3 other Golems and 6 Stone Golems, the damage wasn't... I was losing damage. And with 1 Stone Golem and... 8 Stone Golems and just 1 other Golem, it also wasn't the best damage. So the best bang for the buck I found by just working out through this is 2 different Golems, and then the other 7 will be Stone Golems. So I'm just running a Chaos and Lightning Golem. Chaos Golem's obviously an instant add because of the Fizz damage reduction. As you can see right now, I am at 90 Fizz damage reduction. If I take my Chaos Golem off, I lose a really big chunk of Fizz damage reduction. So the Chaos Golem is like an auto include. Lightning Golem was really the next best pick. The added lightning damage to spells and attacks used by the Golem and its nearby allies. This aura doesn't do anything because I'm running Brutality. However, it does give me a great amount of cast speed, which helps cast my Curse setup. So Lightning Golem was really the best option here, and the Summon Skitterbots with Enlighten in here. This hasn't changed, so Awaken Generosity, Dread Banner, along with Desecrate, so that's kind of the same in the second weapon. So this Curse setup is also the same, so Punishment, level 27 Punishment, level 27 Vulnerability because of the daggers with Divine Ire and Awaken Curse on hit. So this is why I need the +1 Curse on the Primordial Chain, so it's going to be a triple Curse setup. So in theory, when I shoot out the Divine Ire, I'll curse with 3 curses, Vuln, Punishment, and Poacher's Mark. This is where it's changed up a bit. I've added Maim to Flesh and Stone, which may seem a little weird, but Maim actually supports Flesh and Stone because, as the gem reads, supports attack skills or other skills that can maim enemies. And what's interesting with Flesh and Stone is it works because this skill actually can maim enemies, even though it's an aura. So I don't think many people really know about this interaction, so it's actually quite interesting. The reason I actually found out about this is because I was actually looking at the best of the best summoners out there as I was making this build, and I didn't only look at golems, but I looked at regular necromancers running zombies and skeletons. And what better character to look at than Empyrean Gaming's 1200 Exalt strength stacking zombie and skeleton build. So I found out about this interaction through looking at his build. So what this does is the supported skills. Honestly, I'm still not entirely sure how this exactly works, but I think what the main does is the last line there reads, enemies maimed by supported skills take 15% increased physical damage. So what that means is when I'm in Blood Stance, the nearby enemies not only get maimed, but they also now, instead of just taking 16% increased physical damage, they take another 15% on top of that. So now the Flesh and Stone does 31% increased physical damage. The Pride is still the same. It's a level 27 Pride. And I actually ran, ran. I did some tests just in Ledge, looking at the AoE radius to make sure it's actually effective enough to run Pride, and it is. Pride actually has a really dimly visible effect to see where its influence begins, and you can tell that by if you run up to an enemy and turn on Pride, they'll kind of glow in this like red faint glow if you look really carefully. So I was able to actually judge the distance of when Pride gets enabled. So, and a level 27 Pride with 46% increased area of effect definitely pretty much covers most of the screen, so definitely worth running Pride. I had to offload a skill gem, so I had to instead now run a unset ring with flame dash inside of that. So I had to lose some lightning res, but it's kind of okay. And then the other two are just command of iron and the poacher's mark from the ring. So I mean, maybe, who knows, maybe by the time the league starts, I'll find even more ways to kind of min-max this build. But at this point, I really don't know how much more it can go. I'll mention this. Another interesting tool I used was actually using this massive guide to buffing minions. And I think if you ever, and I'll put this into the description, if you're ever trying to create a minion build, I would definitely look at this page, because this page really kind of lays out every single possible way you can kind of buff your minions. So essentially what I did was I just scrolled down through this page and try to check off every single thing I could for these golems. So we get, we do have Onslaught from Ravenous Horde, so it's not a constant onslaught, but it's pretty decent chance. We do get frenzy charges. That's the main one, because they give 15% increased attack cast speed, 4% more damage, and 5% movement speed per charge. So it's actually really insane. That'll turn out to 45% increased attack speed and 12% more damage and 15% movement speed. So that's why I really wanted to throw in that frenzy charge generation. Power charge is, I would say, it would have been nice, but yeah, getting power charge on top of that would be I don't know how I'd possibly do that. Unholy Might, so now we're not running that anymore. Fortify doesn't really, it's not a damage thing. So offering, so yeah, now we are using Flesh Offering. I can't really get Soul Eater. Can't really get Adrenaline because it requires a different War Banner. Phasing just doesn't, yeah. Auras. Anyway, so you can go on and on, like looking at all the different ways you can buff minions. So I think this this thread is really useful if you're building a minion build, and that's kind of what I used to look at. So yeah, so I've dubbed this the Stone Golem build 3.10 post patch notes. Well, post patch notes meaning once 3.10 hits, as technically these voice jewels don't exist yet. Version 2. I still have the version 1, which was before I added all these upgrades, but this is where it stands right now. So yeah, we'll see how this build holds up. See you guys next time.